Hey guys, I wanted to help you guys out on your classwork, so I wanted to give you a few hints on what to do. Now, this worksheet that I'm showing you, or these questions that we're going to be doing on this video, are not the exact same question, but it's the same format. So, in the first section, it asks you to find the zeros of each function using the quadratic formula. All that means is just take your function, and I'm just going to do number one. Take your function and set it equal to 0. And solve for x. That's all that really means. We're doing the same exact thing as we did on Monday. Okay, so it is in standard form. Now let's find out what our a, b, and c is. A is 1 because there's a 1 in front of the x squared. B is -8 and c is -3. Now we can go ahead and plug that into our nice quadratic formula. So x is equal to oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. B is +8. Excuse me. B is +8. So that means that negative b is going to be -8. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that's 8 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is -3. And I divide all of that by 2 times a, which is 1. So please make sure that you are using the quadratic formula perfectly, that you're plugging everything in where it needs to go. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify my discriminant, because that's a lot. Okay, so I'll get x is equal to -8 plus or minus the square root of 76. If you put that in your calculator correctly, or if you do it by hand, you will get that 8 squared is 64. And then you get minus -12, which is the same thing as adding 12 to it. And at the bottom, we don't have to say 2 times 1, we can just say 2. Okay? Now, this square root, I'm not going to make you simplify it. So if you leave your answer like this is fine. Or you can write x is equal to -8 plus the square root of 76 all over 2, comma, -8 minus the square root of 76 all over 2. So either one of these answers are fine. Just if you choose the bottom one, you have to say both of them. Alright, for the next section, it asks you to find the type and number of solutions. All this means is you need to find out what your discriminant is, and you're going to use that little table that you had in your notes from yesterday. So for the first one, we need to find out what the discriminant is, but first we need to put it in standard form, and it's not in standard form. We need to get it set equal to 0, so this needs to come over on this side. Since it's a -4x, we're going to have to add 4x to both sides of the equation. And remember, we do want it in standard form, so we're going to put it not at the end, but in the middle, so that it'll be in standard form. So you get 2x squared plus 4x plus 7 is equal to 0. Now I want to know what our a, b, and c is. A is 2, b is 4, and c is 7. Okay, so our discriminant refers to the quadratic equation, the part that's underneath the square root. So the part that was underneath the square root was b squared minus 4ac. This is our discriminant. So let's plug those values in. You get 4 squared, oops, that was ugly, 4 squared minus 4 times ac, so that's 2 times 7. When you get that, you get your discriminant is equal to -40. Since your discriminant is negative, that means that you will have two solutions. Well, it says the type first, so I'll say the type. They will be complex because you can't have the square root of a negative. So when your discriminant is negative, just like it says in your notes, it will be complex. We're talking about the i's. Okay? It'll be complex, and there will be two solutions. Okay, so you have two complex solutions. So that's how you answer that section. For the next section, you have word problems. This is a different word problem, but hopefully it'll help you out on the one that you have. So this says that the height, h of t, notice it's written in function notation, the height h of t measured in feet of an object dropped on the moon can be approximated by the function h of t is equal to d minus 2.7 t squared, where d is the height from which the object was dropped. About how long would it take the object to fall to the surface of the moon if it were dropped by an astronaut from a height of 6 feet? Okay, so we've been given two pieces of information even though it doesn't look like it. Okay? The height at which it was dropped was 6 feet. The height that we want to find out is actually going to be 0. Okay? Because if we're taking something and we want to know when is it going to hit the ground or the surface of the moon, basically what they're telling us is that D is equal to 6, because that's the height that we're dropping it from. And H of T is 0. Okay? So we want to know what T is, what the time is when we drop it from 6 feet. So we want to know how long it's going to take to go from 6 feet to 0 feet. Okay? And again, when they say it falls to the surface, that indicates that the height is going to be 0, because if you're at the surface or the ground, then of course you don't have any height. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug the information in where it fits into the equation. So h of t is 0, so I'll say 0 is equal to, my D is 6 minus 2.7 t squared. Okay, so now we only have one unknown, which is good. So now we're actually going to use square roots. You could use the quadratic formula if you wanted to, but it would probably be a little bit easier to just use square roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2.7 t squared to both sides. When I do that, I'll bring it over here. When I do that, I get 2.7 t squared is equal to 6. Then I have to divide both sides by 2.7. Then I get t squared is equal to 6 over 2.7. And you can simplify that if you want to. I just don't have a calculator near me. And then the last step, of course, is to find the square root of both sides. Now, if you put this in your calculator, you need to put parentheses around the 6 over 2.7. When you do that, you should get that t is equal to 1.49. Now, of course, we know that whenever you get the square root, you generally get two answers, but since time can't be negative, you only have the positive. So you only want to use the positive answer if you're talking about time. Hopefully that helped.